Sort of break it down like this.
Hey.
Gang Hang. So we had a Marvel movie that came out this week. No spoilers.
It is Oklahoma?
No spoilers on that. And then also we had the finale of Loki, which I think I understand. And without spoilers, it seems like there is a really good, and I know we're not like, we were rumors about, oh, Marvel's going to shift to Doctor Doom. I'm not saying that. But it does seem like if they want to shift away from Kang, they had one line in the end of this show that Mobius said that could easily just be like, yeah, we're done with that. Like made him a whole footnote where he's like, oh yeah, they had a problem with one of the variants in the 616, but they handled it.
I don't think they're doing that.
But I mean, like, what does that mean? And also called it a realm, didn't call it a timeline. They're not calling anything timeline.
They said
anymore.
a 616 adjacent
realm, yeah,
which means the quantum realm. So he's referring to Quantumania.
Yeah. I mean, they even show pictures of Quantumania.
A King variant was being dealt with in a realm adjacent to the 616 universe.
Yeah, but they almost made it sound like, no big deal.
I'll talk about that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw something online that said that they're stating that the MCU is the 616, which that's not right. MCU is the 19999.
I don't think anybody
is.
I don't think anybody at Marvel Studios is bothering to keep track.
Probably not, and maybe
we are, JD.
And maybe the TVA does better filing than they do. I don't know. Like maybe they've got it all in a different order.
It's kind of like, it's like if you go to let me back it up with a comic book example. Mars.
Okay.
We named all the planets, right? Humans did.
Sure.
And the second we met the Martian Manhunter went, yeah, my home planet, Maleficandra, within it's got a bunch of apostrophes in it and shit, and it's
right.
Okay, all right, yeah. Mars is obviously not. So maybe the TVA's system is just like, yeah, it's the 616, but they're somebody else classifies it somehow differently,
and they're not calling them timelines anymore.
That's not how it works.
It's realms now.
Yeah, I'm with Brian. Lame.
Come on, guys. That's not how it works. That's
I know that's not how it works, but I'm trying to no-prize it here. The reality is that nobody is paying attention. Nobody's paying attention.
But we know that as these show after movie after show fall apart right in front of us. It's like they all drift away into crusty leaves.
They probably should have never said that the movie universe was different than the 6. They probably should have just stuck with 616 to begin with.
Why not?
Because they're classifying the comic book 616 as different than the MCU.
Because they want to make
wink, wink.
movie comic book versions in the movie universe that don't count in the regular
comic readers know that it is, but I also wouldn't expect them to call Spider-Man Peter Palmer, he's Peter Parker. The Marvel universe is the 616, whatever, fine. I don't need it to be that granular. I don't need them to say, oh, well, but actually it's a different universe in the multiverse than the 616 universe. I don't care that much.
Sure.
And I think that they're not paying attention is all.
I do too. I think we're paying more attention than they are.
Yeah, we clearly know that.
Remember back in the day when you would go to a movie before the MCU, all that, like when you go to like an X-Men movie, X-Men 3 is perfect example, where it's like, there are some nerds that are working on the script. Are they paying attention to anything? No, they simply plucked some names of characters and threw them onto extras in the movie. And they were like, yeah, that was Marrow.
Yes,
and you're like, that was Marrow? Really?
But as we know, that sucked. That sucked.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. I agree.
And it's not cool. And I'm not saying, I'm not justifying it. It's pay attention, clowns. Realize that somebody somewhere out there, I don't even remember who came up with the idea that the MCU was Earth 19999 or whatever. Was it comic dorks that did that? Was it comic book writers that did that? Was it handbook writers?
I think it was literally.
I think it was handbook writers.
I think it was literally
nobody in the
a thing.
MCU actually said that.
I think it was literally a thing when they were making comics. That comics that were based on video games and movies that are not actually in the Marvel universe, and they're like, "This is the cinematic universe." 1999, what's something along?
Yeah, all right. Well, then, which universe is the Gamerverse? Right?
It's the same.
We got a Gamerverse now. Which one's the Gamerverse?
It's the same.
It's
totally tied in. Remember that? When Hulk went to become an Aborigine and painted himself and everything, and powered up in the store because he bought all that stuff, like just like in the movies.
Hitting himself like an aborigine.
Well, that's the Avengers game. It was terrible.
I feel like the 19999 came from there was either.
I think it was in a. I do think it was in a handbook of some kind.
But also Tom Holland Spider-Man, or at least the Spider-Man in the Tom Holland costume, has appeared side by side with what I consider the 616 Spider-Man.
What do you consider the 616 Spider-Man?
Clarify.
The one I read on the comics, the one I read in the pages of Amazing and Spectacular and all that.
Tom Holland, but was in the comics. What you're saying?
Yeah.
When was that?
I can't remember, but I think that's where the distinction comes from. Is that the Earth 1999 characters can fold in?
Sure. I mean, and that's fine. I get it. I wish that they did pay closer attention, but I'm also not going to get all bent out of shape about it. It's okay. They called it the 616. That's cute.
Yeah, whatever.
Fine.
Whatever.
Okay.
But, and really, he said that for the benefit of comic dorks, right? He said 616 for our benefit. It's like, oh, haha, I get it. He's talking about Quantumania. But, even with, there's an even smaller subset within the small subset of comic book movie viewers that are comic book fans, and then in that even smaller subset is comic book fans that are movie viewers that also know that the MCU has its own universal designate. And so, there's only so much.
Okay, just say it. Just say it. I'm a dork amongst nerds.
No. JD, I get it. And when they said it, even I was like, but it's the 616 is not.
Okay, I know Matt would shove me in a locker if we were in person.
Possibly, but I think we're focusing on the wrong thing. Okay, the thing that I wanted to bring up was in that statement, and Mosaic Fan Art wasn't here when we started talking about it, but in that statement when he says, "Oh yeah, there was a variant that was in the 616 adjacent realm, the quantum realm, but they handled it." Is that their way out? Is this the way out of all the Kang shit?
No, because that's not the only thing they said. They said that
they're tracking other variants. Busy
tracking down all of the Kang variants.
That's like their new job.
All of the variants of He Who Remains.
Yeah, so the TVA now is the time variant, whatever, and they're more like the comics now, where they're the time cops that are running around stopping variants of Kang or something.
Right. And so, okay, we are getting into Loki spoilers here. So if you haven't seen the finale for Loki, I am sorry, but we do need to discuss it.
Stoppers?
Yeah.
Mosaic points out that Loki is now Kang, and I don't think that's accurate. I think Loki is now He Who Remains.
Yes.
Yeah.
More specifically, he's the man holding the time lines together. He's the guy holding the time string together.
Yeah.
He's not He Who Remains in the same way that Jonathan Majors was the guy at the end of time waiting for entropy to destroy the last remnants of the No, but he's the guy holding the whole web together. He's the world tree.
He figured out who he is. He figured out his glorious purpose, and it is not to stop He Who Remains. It is to become that person that is doing it without nefarious goals, like He Who Remains was, more or less.
It's glorious purpose, not nefarious purpose, right? And the whole thing about how he was, how he started out in the MCU as the guy that wanted to claim what he thought was his rightful throne,
right?
To being the guy that didn't want a throne, he wanted to find a better way to live, blah blah blah, all the growth that we've seen from Loki since, I guess, Ragnarok, right? Or since he's been softened, and now he had to claim a throne of sorts, right? That is his glorious purpose. Right. He was right all along. It's just not the purpose that he thought it was.
No, he got stuck in
it's a lot of tragedy with that too. Because
it's a tragedy,
yeah, because he was all of this thing you said with the growth. He ultimately didn't want to be alone. He found a group of friends that he thought was and now
a found family. Right.
And now to save them, he has to be by himself for all eternity at this point.
Right, which is the same thing like Odin has been telling Thor and Loki for years and years and years and years, like, you idiots don't get it. You morons don't. And like Odin's a moron in his own sense, but he's miserable. He's old. He's in charge of everything. He's miserable. It's a shitty job. You don't want this. Like,
I mean,
the
dude's got one. The dude's got one eye, which itself is a metaphor for short-sightedness and not seeing the big picture and all this stuff. And like literally, that is true with Odin. Odin in the comics for sure. Odin in the movies was more of a kind of a wise, benevolent kind of grandpa, but there was all the stuff where it's like, shit, my daughter is too dangerous to live. I'm going to imprison her, but beneath.
Well, and Odin in Norse mythology,
rock I can find.
Odin in Norse mythology is a total shithead too. He's just like, he does what he does and deal with it.
And so when it was revealed, essentially, and you can read into this however you want, but Loki essentially becomes the world tree. He becomes Yggdrasil.
Does he become that, or is he holding it together? Because I kind of took it as like,
man, they showed you the tree.
I mean, they did, but they show his throne,
branches and roots.
They show him the tree holding on to all the roots, and then it pulls back, and it's the tree, right? So I think
right, but that's not what the timelines looked like before. Like now that Loki has assumed his role, he and like you can speculate that like, oh, maybe Loki fulfilled his destiny to actually create the world tree. Yes, Todd says the storyteller, he's the god of stories, right?
Right.
And so like now Loki has basically like, we don't really know, and we'll probably never know. Like they'll probably just leave that up to interpretation, but like you could say like, well, maybe Loki has always been the world tree, right? And this was his destiny to fulfill.
I think he fixed
because the timelines don't just take place in the present; they take place in the past and the future.
Right. And that's what I mean.
And so if Loki assumes this role as the guy holding all the timelines together, that means he's always been holding the timelines together.
I mean, maybe that's because like
if you want to get timey-wimey about it, like I've watched Doctor Who, I can do this all day.
Like He Who Remains has said, "I've always been here." Like you don't get it. I've always been here. And like the things that you're trying to stop and mess with, they all come here one way or another because they're already here. The fact that you're here means I've always been here. So
yeah. And so like I thought Loki season 2 was as close to a perfect finale as they've had in the
it was a good ending. I thought the season started strong, dipped a little bit, and then got really good towards the end. Like,
and you know what? All these reviews that claimed that like, oh no, Loki tanks in the back half. Hell no, I don't. I agree with that at all.
It peaks at the ultimate point that you can imagine.
And I think that goes back to what Joe was saying when we first started. It's like, and about Captain Marvel as well. The things that people used to expect, or not even expect, but that we used to get when we went to Marvel movies or watched a Marvel show, have fundamentally changed. And now you have a lot of people, and this is not me apologizing for things, there's bad Marvel movies, but we have a lot of people that go to these movies going, okay, do the thing. I'm ready for the formula. Do the thing. And if it varies at all and you don't get that formula, they go,
freak out.
Well, they didn't do the thing. And if they do the thing, they go, all they did was do the thing. It's like you can't win.
Yeah. And, and I want to kind of dovetail that into talking about the Marvels. I don't know how many of you rushed out and saw the Marvels, but I saw it.
I'm going to try and go today.
And there's no spoilers here, because there are things that happen at the end of the movie that this is not an exaggeration, that changed the face of the entire MCU. And I'm not overstating it. That it's happening. It's all happening.
I just don't think Puck and Sasquatch showing up in the end is that big of a deal, Joe. I'm sorry.
I love Sasquatch.
Look, man, no comment.
I love Sasquatch too. Don't get me wrong.
If I'm not giving you any hints,
if we could get an Alpha Flight TV show, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. There's no reason we can't.
Any more hints.
Really good in the NCA.
Farm it out to the CBC. Let's go. Come on.
The CBC, right? I'm not giving any hints at all.
Letterkenny's wrapping up.
Yeah.
So that means
there you go.
Jared Kiso's going to be available.
Make him Vindicator.
Yeah, but he's too
Make
tall
him
to play
Vindicator
Puck.
now.
He'd need to play like Guardian or something.
He's Vindicator. Come on.
Yeah, he's Vindicator, Guardian, right? So the Marvels. The Marvels does both, right? And so it does the thing. It does the thing. It perpetuates the formula. It moves the machine forward. But in the last 60 seconds of the movie and in a mid-credits scene, and that's it. The rest of the movie is all just them telling a story and having fun. And it's delightful. And so I don't know if that's the magic balance, right? That they have to strike is, yeah, they did do something to serve the MCU as a whole, but the movie's not about that. The movie is about Carol and Monica and Kamala, and that is it.
Sure.
And it's great. It's so much fun.
I just feel like, to a large degree, Marvel has been on top for so long that there are people out there that are going to tank on it, just hoping it fails because it's big.
Of course. They're the New England Patriots or the New York Yankees or whatever. Right. Like, I'm sick of them winning. Screw it. Which I totally understand where. Okay, I'm going to say this carefully. I totally understand where Snyder Bro thought they were coming from. I don't agree with anything they're saying, but I also understand that, like, I want something different. I want something else to succeed too and do it differently. Like, I get that part of your argument. Everything else is total bullshit and you're a moron. But I do understand that part, and I do think, I don't know. We were not too long ago, we were all just like, oh, Warner Brothers. Oh, James Gunn, you got a hell of a job. This is going to be so hard for them to pull off. This is going to be so scary. It's like they're in a really good position right now, if for no other reason that there's all this bad press for Marvel.
Yeah, if they can't get out of their own way, like you saw what they did with that Wile E. Coyote movie. Like they're just shelving stuff. I'm just
it's like it's like the executives at Zaslav, right, is the guy.
Yep.
David Zaslav is the chairman or whatever of Minx.
The creator of Sister Wives. Yes.
There you go. That guy sucks.
And
he sucks.
And he makes weird decisions. And yeah, so they shelved this John Cena movie that was basically Wile E. Coyote versus Acme. Which sounded like a lot of fun, but unfortunately we'll never see it.
Okay. Is that a lot of fun, or is it a half an hour? Is it a half an hour episode's worth of fun? Is it an hour and a half?
No.
I mean, like,
it was.
No, I think it was just like gonna be. I think it was just gonna be like a movie, like an hour and a half.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's like
feature.
Do you really think an hour and a half feature film of that is great, or did they look at it and go, Jesus Christ, if we can't break this up into 30-minute?
No. They
episodes.
said they tested it, and it was actually very well received.
Oh, okay.
The reason they're doing this is they straight up even admitted it's for tax write-offs.
Sure. No,
and they don't care.
Absolutely.
They just made the movie.
They've got an algorithm that is running their finances, and the algorithm goes, this costs this, kill it. And they go, yes, your highness. And they fucking chop its head off. And that's
pretty much.
I
think that the executives in charge of making decisions at Warner Brothers Discovery, Animal Planet, whatever we're calling it these days, like, if they've made one thing abundantly clear, it's that they are not making decisions based on creative concerns.
No, not at all.
So, like, when you say, oh, they canceled, like, there's no doubt in my mind that any decision to cancel this Wile E. Coyote movie had nothing to do with them being concerned about how the movie was doing.
It's purely money.
So, like, no, I don't think, Matt, that it was because people were like, I don't know if this is going to be good. No, it's because they thought they could make more money canceling it.
Yeah, that's what
than
we were
putting it out.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. But, like, the point being, they are also throwing a shit ton of money at James Gunn and going, "We trust you." Nothing he has mentioned has been shelved. Nothing. Like,
nothing that he's done has come out.
Sure, that's true.
Right, that's the thing.
That's true.
I mean, Peacemaker season 1, but that was before.
Yeah, we're about to get.
That was in the before times.
We're about to get the animated Creature Commandos, right? That's the first thing we're gonna get
next year. Yeah, I think
it's like January, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's coming quick here, so I don't know. I think they're going to really.
But they haven't even shown a trailer.
Well, yeah, I know. I don't. But supposedly it's supposed to be January. I don't know. We'll see.
Right now, like it's like Schrodinger's DCU, right? The James Gunn's DCU is both bad and good until they open up the box and show us what's inside.
No, the only thing I was saying is like they're in a better position with the entirety of entertainment news right now going, oh, Marvel's in trouble. You know, like that's it. Like, keep it up. Can they?
I don't think they are either, JD. But what were you going to say?
Where's Conspiracy Matt with this lack of any kind of content from James Gunn when we have something coming in literally less than 2 months?
Yeah, I don't know what it means. And I don't know if they're sitting back and saying, don't show any cards yet. Don't show any cards yet. Like, absolutely don't do it. Not now when people are down on superhero movies and superheroes are not making money. Don't say a word.
Well, there was also the strike to consider.
There was a strike.
And that may have delayed, nobody could promote any of this stuff.
No, it's true.
I think is why Marvel's did so badly.
That could be, but also that could be. And you're right. Like with the strike, look at what happened this week. When, like, last week there was wind that the strike was going to end, and all of a sudden we got a couple teaser trailers, and then this week they're like, the strike is over, and then it's like, here's 15 trailers for movies that we've been waiting to show you anything for.
And it's not just it was the writer's strike was one thing, but it was also the actor's strike. Right. And so, if you are on Instagram or Twitter, and like if like me, you follow a lot of like actors from things you like, the second the strike ended at midnight on Wednesday or whatever, it was just nothing but like, here's everything I recorded or wrote down during my time making The Fall of the House of Usher. And it was just like post after post after post after post after post because they were so thrilled to be able to talk about it now.
Yeah, Fran Drescher told him, radio silence. We don't want to hear from anybody. So,
well, I mean, they could like, it would have been crossing the picket line to promote projects during the strike. So, but like that could be why we haven't seen seen or heard a whole lot about Creature Commandos. But I don't know. I'm confident. Like I trust in James Gunn. James Gunn hasn't put out a superhero project that I have disliked.
Yeah.
And so, I have no reason not to think that everything he's going to do is going to be pretty good. But say what you want about Marvel, they've been putting stuff out. Not everybody has liked it, but at least they've been putting stuff out.
Yeah, I agree with that. They have some stuff out there. Yeah. No, I'm going to try and go see Marvels today. I'm excited. I don't know. I mean...
Yeah, now we can get Jamie Lee Curtis in One Piece season 2. Yes,
damn right, Dr. Kohura.
I encourage you guys. I know that Rotten Tomatoes reviews have been very divided, but they've been divided in a way that made me think. Up until the point where I saw the movie, they were divided in a way that made me think, oh, this isn't people like being. These aren't granular opinions where it's like mixed reviews. It's like love it or hate it. It's so wildly apart from each other, these positive and negative reviews. And the positive reviews were all things that I wanted to hear. Like, the movie doesn't take itself too seriously. It doesn't spend a ton of time forwarding the Marvel machine. It's about character. It's funny. It's well acted. And I had a blast watching it. Like, those were all like check, 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 check. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I saw the movie and I adored it.
We're at 62% as of today. So it improved.
It's already climbed up from where it was. It was below Eternal.
85%.
It was below Eternals when it first hit Rotten Tomatoes.
85% audience score,
positive territory,
which is like the exact opposite of the first Captain Marvel, which was like 80% audience score, and all the trolls were like, "Bitches are in it, 0."
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Fuck off.
I think it also helps with Rotten Tomatoes to actually read the reviews.
Yes, exactly.
Because it is a binary answer, and you look at it and you're like, that's not. It's like 2.5 out of 5. They're like, bad review.
Right.
You know,
Right.
or like, or, you know, 3 out of 5, it's not a good review. Like,
Right.
you got to really kind of dig it. Unfortunately, you got to dig into it a little bit to see what the reviews actually are. Because they are not, these are not 0 out of 5.
Sure.
You know, they're
Right.
like, you know, they're like, it's vaguely critical, or because it's usually out of 5, it's a balance. And it kind of depends on how the algorithm thinks that, what it thinks that means. But you can read the words and say, well, that's not a bad review, but they made it look like it's bad. And so,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, your mileage varies with that stuff. And
Yeah.
you
I'm
know,
not
some
saying
things
like
also get great.
Rotten Tomatoes is not the Bible. Don't look at there.
No,
No,
it's
that's the
not.
other
And
thing.
now
I think
it's
that's clear.
come out that Rotten Tomatoes really can't be trusted at all. But they but one of the reviews I read was something to the effect of
Like Biden and the deep state are running it. Is that what you're telling me? Or what?
no,
it that
like
bad?
the
The lizard
was some
people
scandal-
joke?
Yeah, Biden's doing a great job with the reviews.
There was-
It's a hell of a job.
Right.
There was some scandal about how they were like taking money for positive reviews or something. Like you can look it up, but some stuff came out about Rotten Tomatoes, it was already kind of like dubious at best. It's a good like first indicator. You know, you can look at you can look at something on Rotten Tomatoes. If it says 30%, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Right.
But if it says 60% or 57%, then you're like, well, okay.
And vice versa. If it's at 99%, you can go, all right, there's probably some good here. If it's at 10%,
Probably,
you can go, oh, this is a piece of shit. Somewhere in between there, hard to know.
Right. And like one of the reviews I read was something to the effect of, The Marvels is clearly made for teen girls and that like Archie and not true comic fans. And it's like, well,
What
sir,
the hell?
Sounds like this dude knows what he's talking about. I'll bet he's got a huge penis too.
There you go.
How do you
Mail,
verify
baby.
like the authority of all these critics? Like, where are these critics coming from?
Yeah. That's just
yeah,
it.
I don't know. Like, and it could be like some of these people that are on Rotten Tomatoes are just like dudes with a blog.
Well,
and
yeah,
some of them
yeah.
write for like national newspapers.
Well, and then you have like Christian watchdogs
whiny
that get
bitches
like
anyways. Yeah.
that get
whiny
their
bitches, yeah,
that are up there like
the
this
Christian Science
is a
Monitor
terrible message to send to
like,
children. Like
focus
that's
on the
not a
family.
review.
Kind of, like I don't trust your judgment
I've met
on this
I've met
movie.
some pretty sad individuals in my life, and I've asked them what they do. They're like, "Oh, I'm a music critic." I'm like, "Oh, shocker."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah,
it's easy enough to dig into it and see really if you want to take the time and you feel, I don't know, you got nothing else going on that day, but just kind of look through
You're
it.
feeling really masochistic that day.
Well, or if you're just really like, all right, is this as bad as I think it is? I don't think it's ever as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
And
Right.
again, yeah, you get these literal nobodies who happen to be somehow in the loop with Rotten Tomatoes, and you say,
Right.
I wouldn't take this person's opinion on literally anything. So why would I care what they think about a movie that they were never going to like?
Yeah.
You know, it's a flawed system.
You got that
And-
one
but
asshole.
also Rotten Tomatoes.
Like Paddington 2
Rotten
is at
Tomatoes
100%. Paddington 2, it's a perfect movie. Everybody loves it. And then one guy comes in and goes, I didn't like it very much. Rotten. You know, so you can be the one prick
Marmalade.
that like,
2
like
stars.
oh, you're famous because you're the only shithead that didn't like Paddington #2. Like, I want to find that guy and drown him. I hate that. I cried 3 times in that movie.
There's a reviewer that I believe he's retired now, but there's a guy named Armand White. And he is a critic who was famous for essentially hating everything that people loved.
Yeah.
And he was on Rotten Tomatoes. So like already, if you saw a negative review from Armand White, you'd be like, okay, got it. It's great. I get it. I'll love it.
Contrarianism is a thing with reviewers. It's annoying.
See, now it's weird
So
because
anyway,
normally you don't
see The Marvels. It's
don't
great.
bump
It's
into
gonna
a
blow
lot
your
of-
minds. Matt Baum's gonna cry. Matt Baum is going to literally shriek like a tiny girl when he sees the very end.
I don't know what this could possibly be, and you've
you'll
piqued
get it.
my
You'll get
interest.
there, man.
I don't know what it could possibly be. I'm not going to ruin it though. I'm not going to spoil it. I am going to go see it. For someone, anybody looking for something completely different.
I had.
Oh, Frank, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say I had a reviewer that I follow on TikTok. Actually, he kind of like spoiled one of the end credit scenes, and I was like, I hope that wasn't the big one because that seems like kind of like I would have expected it, but there must be another one that's coming.
There's 3.
There's 2. I don't want to say what it is because
I think there's 3, right?
There's 3.
I think there's 3, but let's not spoil it for anybody.
There's a tease at the very end of the movie before the credits, and then there's a mid-credits scene which is the game changer, and then there's something at the very end. I believe those are the 3 you're talking about, right, Frank? Yeah.
On a totally different subject, if you're looking for
one of them is I don't know which one.
If you're looking for a comic book movie that has nothing to do with any of this, David Fincher dropped The Killer on Netflix. It is an adaptation of a French comic book that we reviewed. We did not review the story that this movie tells, but from what I understand, this is like the second and third part of the story that this movie is. It is fantastic. I watched it last night. It is mesmerizing. Fassbender is incredible in it, and it's Fincher, so it's beautiful to watch. And you've got Atticus Ross and
what's the name of that?
The Killer. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross do the music, so it's just like this thumping, like meditative, hypnotizing soundtrack. It's incredible. Absolute must watch. You guys got to check it out. It's so good. And now I got to read the rest.
Fassbender's penis do we see?
You almost get to see. I was like, oh, here it comes, and then they just sort of tease you a little bit.
Yeah, Hogbender. How much of the Hogbender?
We didn't get to see the Hogbender in this one. So
no Hogbender 0 out of 10.
No,
there you go.
No,
it's a missed opportunity.
I just wanted to interject.
It's the worst Avatar ever.
Strange conversation. I just wanted to interject something about Loki. I wanted to say something before, but get conversation was going. There is, if you go back and look at Norse mythology, it seems like this is following some of Norse mythology. Like I wrote about it a little bit in the spoilers, but like Loki seems like he's trapped in the world tree, which there's a legend of Loki being trapped, or a myth of Loki being trapped in a tree.
True.
And actually did it in the comics at one point.
Yeah.
In his first appearance.
And then there's the whole like myth of Odin, who sacrifices himself on Yggdrasil to gain the knowledge, and then gives up an eye to gain vision, which I think is kind of ironic because he's so short-sighted.
Sure. Yeah.
But so I'm like, there's an argument to be made that perhaps Loki is the next Allfather, and he changes because his whole experience has changed him drastically, and maybe he leads into a whole new world in MCU, and maybe this is. I was saying maybe this is like the step into the new MCU. They go back. And
I think it's part of it
as a way of changing things.
I think it's definitely part of it,
well,
and I think look no further than Al Ewing's Agent of Asgard, which was a Loki story,
correct,
where Loki's younger self gets possessed by Loki's older self, like from further in time, and tries to make the younger self like realize you're doing it wrong, and it leads directly to a lot of what we saw.
You know something? I mean, that is one thing, and I think we're going to see some aspect of that. But I'm almost certain that when Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty, and I think it's almost certain we're going to get some form of multiversal Avengers. It's probably Loki that's going to assemble them,
maybe,
and possibly bring them over. Including probably a very surprised brother at that point.
Yeah, or one that doesn't trust him and is like, no. I absolutely will not, even though Loki is doing the right thing and has the best thing in mind. Macho Thor is like, you can't trust this idiot. No way. I've known him for thousands of years.
We've been down this road.
They did kind of come to an accord in Ragnarok where they were working together. But
they did.
And Loki, that version of Loki, sacrificed himself anyway. That was a huge thing with Thor.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, but that version of Thor wanted to trust him.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
He was so desperate to for him to do the right thing, and he didn't think he knew that Loki could not do the right thing, but he wanted him to be. He wanted a nice brother, he wanted to be family, and he knew that he couldn't trust his piece of crap brother because that's his whole role. He's not supposed to be trustworthy because he's always messing with you. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's what I like so much about how he's evolved in the comics, how he was, originally the god of lies, and the god of evil, and then he was the god of mischief, and now he's the god of stories. And it's like there's growth. There's room for growth in even gods, mythological gods that are supposed to be constant, right? They're always the same, they always like Thor's always temperamental and hot-headed and blah, blah, blah. And Loki's always trying to pull one over on you, but like, no, even the gods evolve over time. And so I like that. I like that they've kind of done that with Loki where, like in Loki season 2, like it was clear that he was sincere about wanting to save everybody.
Yeah.
And not wanting to go and not wanting to like go back to his old ways. And like, I like that a lot.
Well, even Loki in the comics is like that constantly too, where they've set up, okay, we've seen young Loki, we've seen a female version of Loki, we've seen old school Loki, we've seen future Loki, and like they bump into each other all the time and hate each other. It's like a Kang Immortus type thing where Loki's like, ugh, that was embarrassing. I can't stand that, Loki.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
Speaking of, we mentioned the Hogbender earlier. So speaking of bending, there was a teaser for the upcoming Netflix adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh.
I mean, looks like the cartoon to me. I don't know.
I never watched Avatar.
Oh yeah, no, it looks amazing. The visuals, the act. Brother, there is a weird scandal with the person who plays Sokka apparently because he claimed he was Native American on his casting call, and apparently he is not. But that's a whole other story.
Lord,
but
this is why we can't have nice things.
Did he think it was hard to check?
I guess, but, but outside of that, no. The movie itself looks like pretty. I mean, it's a series, right? I think it's going to be a series.
It's a series,
yeah, it looks pretty freaking great, man. The only thing is I hope that they show more of is a little bit of the wackiness, especially with Aang, because that was missing from that horrendous live action one. from a long time ago.
And this teaser was pretty like serious. We didn't really get a sense of the characters and like their youth, their children, and so like they're goofy, and so I would like to see that as well. I hope we see that as well. But yeah, boy, it's already better than the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Oh, that was M. Night Shyamalan.
Just the 30-second teaser.
That's
is
right.
Better than that piece of shit.
I forgot.
I want to say a funny joke from that movie. So they have like the Earthbenders and all that, and there's a specific scene where in that movie, which I still laugh at to this point, where they're trapped in this prison with the Fire Nation and all that. They are literally surrounded by Earth. Like there was no inhibitors or anything. They literally could have broken at any time. And then when they actually earthbend, I think they threw like 3 rocks at them. That's how they were. Like they eventually got their escape, which I still laugh at to this day.
They used up all their rock throwing budget.
Does it have to be rocks? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe like mud doesn't count, or like I don't know.
No,
I don't know. I'm sure they weren't thinking about that.
Yeah, Earthbenders like anything that's from the Earth.
Well, every time they start doing like this, like avatars of like the elements, there's always one in there where you're like, what? Where they're like earth, wind, fire, water, wood. Like, wait, what was that last one? Wood? Like, hold on.
Wood's not. Wood is not an element.
I will say that there is a really cool thing with the water bending. Oh yeah, where they actually introduce blood bending, and I'll leave that because
blood bending. Bloodbenders are gross.
Oh.
Yeah, they are. So fantastic.
And then in Legend,
the one thing is, oh, go ahead,
JD. No, JD, go.
Please.
Oh, I was just saying that in I can't remember which Japanese religion it is, but wood and metal are considered elements in Japanese mythology and Japanese religion.
Fair.
I mean, I think Matt was using wood as a joke, but I mean, it could have been, like purple stuff,
right?
There you go.
Nickelodeon slime.
There's like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this X Chair commercial that's on like every live sporting event there right now. It's like, we harness the elements of the universe, like hot, cold, touch and time. Like, what are you talking about? Like, do you know what an element is? Like,
yeah.
God, it makes me so mad.
I think in Legend of Korra, Damon, didn't they? They also kind of expanded it. Like there were characters that could control metal and stuff.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing actually. In fact, that was kind of introduced fairly early on. That was a thing. Yeah, that's correct. They evolved eventually to that point.
Okay, real quick. Hi, I'm Matt. I never watched Avatar. Bending means you could control it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Essentially, you are an elemental.
Like Magneto is a metal bender, if you will.
But and Aang is the last airbender, and he's been
so he blows wind around.
He's been trapped in ice for 100 years, and so like there were no airbenders.
He's so like a Captain America type thing, like man at a time.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay,
and they find him and he's out of the ice, and so like shit, Aang is the last airbender, but he's also the Avatar, and the Avatar is someone that can control all the elements.
Gotcha. Okay,
right. The thing is that when he got frozen, yeah, exactly. He didn't learn that at the time, so that's kind of the journey. Also, is that this is him about to fulfill his destiny as the Avatar, which can control all the elements. That's kind of the story beat of it.
Is the new show a retelling or is it continuing?
The show is a live action adaptation.
Oh, the new show is a live action adaptation. Okay.
Live action, yeah.
Well, the first season or two, maybe.
Right.
So.
And so in Legend of Korra, which was the sequel to Avatar, Korra is the new Avatar, and she was a waterbender, right?
Yeah, she initially
by birth she was a waterbender.
This is the one where they all live underwater and they ride the whales and stuff. That one.
No,
not quite.
Gotcha. Yeah,
what the hell are you even talking about?
I'm talking about Avatar 2, Joe, the movie.
Avatar. Yeah. No. Sorry, I haven't seen that. So
the Way of Water Bending or whatever it was called. Right?
I pushed that movie completely out of all of my thoughts. But thank you.
Is there a movie that made more money that nobody saw? You know what I mean? Like that Avatar movie,
Cameron, baby.
Like it made a shitload of money, and like people walking around like I don't know who's seen. And like I peeked in theaters, nobody's in there. I'm like, what is going on? This is bizarre.
James Cameron paid Rotten Tomatoes to make it right. And there you go.
People are just horny for those naked CGI.
Or Cameron had enough money that he just called theaters and like, I'd like to buy out Theater 4 and Theater 5 and Theater 6.
That's exactly
James Cameron has Titanic money. So.
Right. It's like when the MAGA people put out books and like it's a bestseller because their friend bought 700,000 copies because he doesn't want you to show everybody the pictures of him whipping little boys or something.
The Koch brothers just buy boatload, literal boatloads of Don Jr.'s books.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a bestseller.
Yeah. So like Avatar's the number one. Avatar 2 is the number one movie in America for the 47th straight week in a row.
Right.
It's in 10,000 theaters.
Yeah, okay, so
I don't even think there are 10,000 theaters in America.
Real talk, and then we can move on. So I don't want to talk about Avatar. But did any of you see Avatar 2? Did any of us?
No.
Okay, there you go.
No, God, no.
Scientific poll. There you go. Nobody saw it. There it is.
I've only seen bits of the first one. I saw it over the summer, and it was just on television, and like, I can't believe that this is something that anyone has spent more than a second watching. It is just abysmal.
My favorite part. Yeah, my favorite part of the first movie was not on the screen. I'm sitting next to my wife, and we had both had some drinks, and we were some friends, and I was like, "This is gonna be amazing. This is gonna be whatever." And like 2 hours into the movie, my wife leans over and she goes, "How much longer is this?" And I turned to her and I said, "There's like another." And I turned and I go, "There's another hour and a half," which there wasn't. And she goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then it screams.
It's like that. It's like that old joke or thing from a lot of different things, but one that pops into mind is Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, where Swamp Thing goes to hell and he bumps into Anton Arcane and he's like, my old enemy. You've come to visit me after all of the eons. How long has it been, old friend? And Swamp Thing's like, it's been like 30 days.
Yeah, like you died last month,
like
dude.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that's what happens when you watch Avatar. It's like, how much longer is this movie? It's like, we've been watching it for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It is the most derivative movie of all time. But that's all the story.
It's white savior nonsense. And also
Belly, right?
Yeah, right. And there's a joke I saw, and it's probably from something dumb like Big Bang Theory or whatever, but it's these guys talking about Avatar, and it's like, okay, so you know how in Avatar they have sex by plugging their tails together, and that's you know how they are intimate.
I thought
with
that was
each
just
other.
like how they
It's
kissed or whatever. That's them doing it.
Yeah, man. That's yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, that's how they're intimate with one another. That they plug their tails together. Okay. And in order to ride their space horses or whatever, they plug their tails into the space horses too.
Oh.
Yeah, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like, so that means that they're fucking them horses.
I guess that's why I thought maybe that's just like how they whoa, this is like a mental connection or something.
Nope.
I didn't think it was like,
no, it's very clear. It's like eating the sex. It's like,
All right,
it's like eating the sex tuber, Matt. Like they don't have peas and veggies. They've got tails.
All right.
Yeah, but Joe, with the horse, it's just the tip. It's just the tip. You know?
Just enough
to get it going.
Okay, we have got to change. We are changing this subject now. All right, we're
like a hard stop.
Officially done with
any good comics this week.
Navi sex. Yeah, good and good comics or bad. I read some bad comics this week.
You know what? I read the new Punisher and I thought it was pretty okay.
It was fine.
I heard your review.
It was fine.
It could be literally any other Punisher story.
Yeah,
it could just be about Frank.
The thing.
It's got a slightly different paint job on it. But
I still understand how they decided that they could just randomly put together the Punisher skull and just thought that, okay, that's fine. That's just part of his equipment.
Stupid.
Yeah, right.
He's the Punisher.
It's so stupid.
I'll buy it. I'll buy that you are wearing cast off ballistic armor from S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's got little glowy plates on it. Fine. But you knew what you were doing when you plugged those big tooth-looking gun belts onto your over your belly button. You knew what you were doing.
It's stupid, and it goes beyond just that. And Joe, you're right. Marvel did not come out when they were like saying, "Oh, the Punisher's changing his skull and going away because the character's dated or whatever." Marvel didn't say that. Jason Aaron did say it in some interviews.
His final essay in the back of the last issue of the Punisher, he talked about how he does not agree with how the symbol of
how
the Punisher
skull's been used by like
blah, blah,
cops and Proud Boys and shit like that. And fine, I'm like, you know what? Good on you, Marvel, taking it away. And now they're like, well, what if we gently sneak it back by a guy that made a mistake? He didn't know the Punisher skull.
But it's still the Punisher skull.
It does look different, right? I'm not casting any shade on him. Like, yeah, they changed it up. It's still a skull, but they changed it.
Make a statement or don't make a statement.
Punisher logo.
So Marvel, you can either make that statement or don't. Okay, but don't pretend.
Well, Marvel never
like
made that statement is the thing. So Marvel is in the interest of making money. That's it. The end.
So what is David Pepose doing then in a situation like this, where it's like accidental Punisher skull? Like, what is he trying to say? That's what I don't understand about the book. What are we doing?
I think that was just to say that like this guy Joe Garrison was not interested in becoming the Punisher. He's not taking over for Frank. He's only interested in getting revenge for himself.
And he never looked in the mirror.
And the media was like, it's the Punisher, it's the Punisher,
and he never looked in the mirror when he got dressed.
Yes, I get it. But like in the text of the book, he's like, I don't care what they call me. All I care about is getting this guy.
It's like a character. It's like the Hulk goes away and people are like, the Hulk is too violent. The Hulk, he's too dangerous. We got to get rid of him. And then someone else is like, well, I'm super strong, but I don't want to be the Hulk, but I am going to paint myself green and take off my shirt and wear these torn purple pants. You might be trying to be the new Hulk, dude. No, I am not. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just super strong, super mad, wearing purple pants, and I painted myself green.
Look, I think it would be one thing if we were talking about a guy who put on red and blue spandex with webs on it and was like, I'm not trying to be Spider-Man. It's like, yeah, you're trying to be Spider-Man.
Oh, that was actually Dan Slott's Spider-Boy comic that came out.
A guy that uses tactical gear to get revenge on the people that killed his family and is confused for the Punisher. It's like, okay, whatever. Like, fine. I'll suspend my disbelief that far.
Whatever.
But the fact, like, it's clear by looking at him that they don't intentionally call it out in the book, other than to say that, like, oh crap, my people are looking at my chest plate and assuming I'm the Punisher. But like, the character is very explicitly not trying to be the Punisher, and so I'll go with him on that. I'll roll with him on that. But yeah,
I get like a George Costanza vibe. Like, was it the punishing that you got that made you think I was the Punisher? Was that I know the costume, but was it my actions? Was that what made you think? Because I didn't see it. But if that's what you think, oops.
Yeah.
Listen, one time it was wintertime and it was dark and I got ready for work and I got to work and I realized I was wearing one black shoe and one brown shoe and I was embarrassed. But it's easy to leave the house without knowing what you look like.
Hey, I suppose.
Until you get in the sunlight.
I suppose.
And you go, hey, I guess I do look like the Punisher. That's on me, guys.
It's easy to accidentally have the same origin where your family is killed by bad guys, and you constantly thinking about, oh man, before my family was killed by bad guys, I was just a normal guy.
Should I have done?
No, I mean, it is what it is.
So Todd, Mosaic Fan Art says that he's been loving the Midnight Show from Cullen Bunn.
It's very good.
I know that we have other fans in the group. I need to catch up on that.
It's very good. We're only up to issue 2.
We're loving his ghost lore as well. Last week, we declared Cullen Bunn the king of independent horror comics.
I think that's fair by volume alone. I think it's fair. If they were all 90% of it is great too, and it's like 10% of it is good
by quantity, not quality. Quantity.
No, but to be real, 90% of it is like, really good.
It's like if you have if you are Cobra and you have 1 billion soldiers, they can be shitty, right? If you're the Empire and you've got an army of stormtroopers that can't hit the broadside of a barn, it's kind of okay because you've got an overwhelming force 99% of the time. And then you get that 1% of the time where there's a Jedi involved and you're like, oh shit.
I hope they find this for a pull quote for one of Cullen Bunn's books. Listen, he's got more than anyone else. He's got more than anyone else.
Hey, every time we review one of his new horror books, it's a buy it. Every time he writes something for the big 2, we go, go back to the horror.
So I don't know why Matt keeps saying by sheer volume, because I'm saying book that we review is good.
I'm not saying by sheer volume. I'm saying even if it was just by sheer volume, he's the king.
You said by sheer volume is a literal quote that came out of your mouth.
I said even if it was sheer volume, but it happens to all be really good. That's the thing.
Yeah, it is really
good. It's
not
just that.
Is Cullen Bunn the best? I don't know, but he's definitely the most. I think that's saying something.
I think James Tinian the 4.
Email him a link to this video, or
no. Cullen Bunn,
we have good. I don't know. There's a lot of them. Yeah,
we have always said that when Cullen Bunn is playing in his own sandbox outside of Marvel, he shines, and I don't think I've ever disliked an independent book that he's put out, whether it's horror or otherwise.
Yeah.
And like I understand that, like when his Marvel work is work for hire. Like did he pitch that X-Men book that had a bunch of like weird characters in it, like X-Men Blue or whatever it was? Was that him, or did Marvel say, "Hey, Cullen Bunn, we need you to write this book," and then nobody liked it, right? So
I picture more like Cullen.
Sometimes you're hired for a job, and sometimes you're passionate about something that you've created. And I think it's clear that with his horror work, that's where his passion really lies.
I like to picture Cullen walking into the bullpen and sits down at his desk, and there's a packet there that says X-Men Blue, and he goes, okay. Opens it up and looks at the characters and like, all right, here's your script. done.
Yeah.
And then he gets it done like
$100 bill into the back of it.
He gets it done in like 15 minutes and then secretly uses his Marvel time to write something kick-ass and scary that he's working on, at Boom or something.
Right. It's like when you're on the clock at work and you spend most of your time writing comic book reviews for your podcast.
It happens, right?
I mean, it's a for instance. I'm not saying that that's a real world example.
No.
I'm just saying.
Who amongst us has never written a comic review on the company time?
Sure. Exactly.
So X-Men related, I am working my way through my old X-Men comics. It's got to the John Romita Jr. of Uncanny X-Men. Very good. But it sort of raises the question of the Cullen Bunn era X-Men book and all those other things. With these movies coming out, who do we, I don't know, 6 characters? Who is the team?
Yeah.
For you do an X-Men movie, like what are you going to do? Because when you think about the X-Men for so long, it was Colossus and Nightcrawler and Storm and Wolverine and Kitty, but then it's the cartoon is so many, it's Cyclops and it's Beast and it, like you get, I think a really tough thing. Like who do you start with?
Yeah. I mean, look at
Spider.
Where do you start with?
So I won't say it.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at even
say
Venom getting a movie. When you look at Spider-Man and they're like, okay, we need villains for Spider-Man, and I'm talking Sam Raimi one, like, we got to do Venom, and everyone's like, well, slow down. I mean, I get it, Venom's popular, but like, Spider-Man's got other villains that develop. No, Venom, we got to do Venom. So does that mean our X team's going to be Wolverine, Wolverine Jr., Wolverine Girl, Wolverine Sister?
Well, I mean, it'll differ. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Wolverine will be one of the first X-Men we meet in a rebooted Wolverine will be one of the first X-Men we meet in the MCU's version of the X-Men. But
has anyone else seen that rumor that Wolverine and Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire are going to be at the head of Secret Wars?
Yes, and in fact, we did talk about those rumors last week. I don't remember. Were you gone? Were you here last week or?
I was good. No, I wasn't. I was gone.
Okay. Yeah. So we talked about the alleged leaks that came from the supposed insider posting on 4chan. And
is that where they came from? All right.
Yeah, and one of them was that Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Hugh Jackman, they were all going to be in.
I thought they just said Garfield
Secret
and Jackson. I didn't think they mentioned Maguire. Because I read some of it.
Elsewhere. Maguire as well.
Was he
they did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Like the point stands. It's like
I don't find it hard to believe
these non-Disney versions,
right?
And in the Secret Wars movie,
it makes more sense.
That was one of the rumors.
It makes more sense, like, to do something like that than it does for Sony to be like, yeah, let's make a different Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. That's not a Tom Holland Spider-Man. Like, no, Sony. No, you can't do that.
So that was another one of the rumors is that Andrew Garfield has been in talks to kind of come back for a third Amazing Spider-Man movie since the second one was kind of a terrible send-off for that character. And it's like the
lawyers aren't going to let that loophole slip.
Why would you even consider doing that?
I can see how they'll let Kraven get bit by a lion. I could see them letting Kraven get bit by a lion and turn into a were-lion, and Marvel being like, yeah, go ahead, do whatever you want with that. But there's no way they're like, yeah, second Spider-Man. Yeah, please, take it away, Sony, do it.
We just do a Ben Reilly movie, done.
Yeah, there you go. Ben Reilly, sweatshirt Spider-Man, so we can tell the difference. I like it.
Yeah, Scarlet Spider.
Oh, hip-hop sweatshirt? Yeah, hell yeah.
I was just saying, I just brought up that rumor because I don't know how we get Wolverine in the MCU X-Men out from under the shadow of Hugh Jackman, especially with him being in Deadpool 3. I almost think it would be better off to pivot away from a team to not have Wolverine on the team.
I mean, sure. And you know what?
That's
I think that's where the difference lies between creative decision making and financial decision making. And I think you're probably right, and that the best way to distance themselves from the Fox X-Men and create their own version is to create a team of mostly new characters, not like newly created, but like new to film.
Ninja
right?
Psylocke.
Like you could probably
And,
get away with like a character like Colossus, who's relatively limited time in on screen. But well, yeah, I mean Deadpool 2, but like Deadpool 2 is a joke, right? Like I don't know. So maybe Colossus is a bad example.
but Deadpool 3 is not going to be a joke. I mean,
no, I know, but like Colossus was one of the main characters of Deadpool 2 is I think what JD is saying. But like Kitty, sure, like Kitty Pryde or Storm, like I don't know.
Tempo.
But financially, I think on an executive level, they're going to be like put all the most popular guys in there.
Yeah, but what if they have
what
any?
Do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean Spider-Man's not an X-Man? Somebody's going to have to be.
I think Marvel's
going to have to be.
I think Marvel's more connected than that.
Explain to somebody that some characters are not X-Men and some characters.
But Feige is more connected than that. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that bad. If it was a Sony film, God, who knows? But no, I do think it's going to be. There's no way that they have the balls to be like, yeah, it was Professor X and Angel, Iceman, Cyclops, Marvel Girl, and there you go. There's your original team, Beast. Get in there, and he doesn't have hair yet. He's just a kid with big hands and big feet. Do it, please. And then you flash forward or something and be like, oh, the team today is this, or. God help us if they are like time travel the original team into our reality, like Bendis's Young X-Men or some shit.
Am I the only one that liked that?
It was fine for a while, JD,
and then it really went too far.
It was fine for
all
4 issues. 4 issues, it was pretty good, and then
it went too far.
After 6 issues, you started to go.
Angel had laser wings and then
cosmic fire wings, right? Yeah, I know.
One of my favorite lasting things from that is actually just recently in the Hellfire Gala when Ms. Marvel goes up to Cyclops, she goes, "I can't get used to you being an old guy."
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, and that like. And
Baby Cyclops.
That is funny, but I also did think that was kind of a nice moment because she and young Cyclops were like very close friends from the Champions.
Yeah, on the Champions.
So it's like, oh, that's nice.
Sure.
But like young Cyclops from the Champions and old Cyclops that used to be a terrorist are definitely not the same dude.
No, probably not.
Maybe don't have that heartwarming moment.
Decision.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing. I think, one final thought on this. We keep talking about like, well, how are we going to bring mutants into the MCU? How are we going to do the mutant thing? And is Wolverine going to be the first mutant? What happened to this Miss Marvel as a mutant thing? Are they going to stick her on the X team?
No, we're not asking how we're going to get the mutant thing. We're asking what's the first X-Men lineup going to be?
No, I get you. I get you.
Like, in the chat just a second ago.
Is Miss Marvel there? Is Miss Marvel one of your first X-Men?
Yes. I know she'll be one of the first, but she's going to be involved. Like there's no question,
right?
In my mind.
I think that
you'll play the Jubilee role from the cartoon.
There you go. Fine with that. If she replaces Jubilee, fine with that. If in the opening scene she throws Jubilee into the sun, fine, great. I'm into it.
There's no replacing Jubilee. Come on.
I am a Jubilee fan.
I hate that stupid.
Yeah, you know what? I like Jubilee too.
I hate Jubilee. I hate watered down Dazzler. That's all she is. All right.
I think that
no doubt.
I think that it is. I think it's a mistake or premature rather to assume that we aren't going to get a version of the X-Men that's already been around. You know what I mean? Like we discussed, like, they're not going to introduce the X-Men as though they're a brand new idea. I don't think.
No,
I don't think.
I think Mosaic Fan Art just brought up the Exiles. You could have a group of X-Men that are jumping around the multiverse like the Exiles, and they show up here and they're like, "How come there's no mutants here? What is the deal?" Or
I think if that soft reboot thing is true that we talked about last week, I think that we're going to get when we see the X-Men for real in the MCU, it will be as though that they were already existing.
I think a soft reboot sounds like it needs a stool hardener, personally.
It also could be a reason for them to like actually do a true to the comics like first class of X-Men and have Cyclops, Beast, Jean Grey, Angel and Iceman.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, look, if they can
doesn't
prove,
mean Wolverine's not out there.
No,
It just means he's not on the X-Men.
And we've already proved that you can have a hit with
Right.
Guardians of the Galaxy, which are characters that nobody knew anything about. They reinvented the Avengers, which nobody cared about. You know, back then it was X-Men was the big hot shit. So Marvel's proven they can package whatever they want when it's done well and sell it. So
and a question
they're
from
not doing it without Wolverine. They're not doing it.
I have a feeling you're right.
I do
Not a
agree
fan.
with you, Brian.
I have a feeling you're right. It's
A
impossible.
question from the chat is, what are the odds that we're going to get Taylor Swift as Dazzler? I think that.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
I mean, I think that's a safe bet. I wouldn't have bet against that.
I think it comes off as a desperate cry for
think-
help, but go for it.
What?
I think
Come on
she
now.
needs to.
She's hot. Everybody loves her. Put her in the movie. Put her in the movie. She's hot right now. The whole NFL loves her. Like, give me a break. I mean,
Matt, if that was a thing, that Taylor Swift would have already been in a bunch of movies. She hasn't been in a bunch of movies, so calm down.
you're right. She
Taylor
was in
Swift
the
has just been a
highest
global
grossing
phenomenon for
concert
years.
film of all time this year. She was only in that movie.
She's hot right now. How dare you? How
Yeah,
dare you
Matt,
right
she's
now?
not only hot just right now is my point. It's like nobody's desperately crying for help because Taylor Swift has always been here.
I'm not saying
And-
Taylor
and
Wings a
Swift
cat.
is desperately crying for help. Taylor Swift needs no help. Marvel would be desperately crying for help to thread.
No.
Please, 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 Taylor Swift, can we put you in here and put you in the trailer and do like?
I think that that's a real stretch, and I think it makes perfect sense for the most popular pop star on the planet to play Dazzler in a version of an X-Men.
I'm not
movie,
saying it
Deadpool
doesn't.
3 in particular.
I'm not saying it doesn't.
You know who?
I think she
you know
should
what?
play Beast.
Like
There
a
you go.
desperate cry for help is getting ice spice to promote your Dunkin' Donuts. Like
That's a
that's
whole
a
other
desperate
story.
cry for help.
Actually,
that's
I just thought about it. We already know who the next long shot is. Be Travis Kelce. There you go. Book it now.
Travis
Done.
Kelce. Yeah. That's your long
That's the
shot.
guy that looks like he has hollow bones. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd need someone a little skinnier. You know, like he's a little beefy
Well,
for my long
he's
shot.
I mean, long
he's-
shot.
He's a long shot.
Yeah,
Long shot needs to look like anybody can take him in a fight.
right.
You know,
long shot's a skinny
He needs
dude.
to look like a
Long shot
spindly
is a
little
waif
nothing.
model. There's nothing to it. Long shot looks
He's a
like
waif model,
he
right.
weighs $110 and he's 6'3".
He's
you
like
know?
he's like Twiggy with a mullet.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
All right, I got to get out of here, guys.
All right,
I got to go
hey,
help my wife
yeah,
for the
oh,
day.
dang
but-
it! I thought I was gonna get to be the one.
Sorry,
the first one to bail.
I gotta get
I
out.
also have to go.
But
So
good gang
I gotta
hang.
go pick up my dog from grooming. JD.
This was
It's
super fun.
Penny's turn today.
Hey,
We'll see you next week.
hey, real quick, I just wanted to say,
Oh, JD.
you guys can all see me in person tomorrow at Legend. We're restarting
right.
the Creators Workshop.
Oh, nice.
The legend comes.
What time is it?
What time is Creators
tomorrow
Workshop?
at 3 o'clock, right, JD? Or 2 o'clock?
2 to 5.
Kick ass.
2 p.m.
I
2
will
to
try and
5,
come by. Definitely.
And you can come by and throw me in a locker if you want, Matt.
Oh, I'll just give you a snoogie or something, or pull your underpants up. You know, a snoogie or a wedgie. I don't do lockers.
Nothing
anymore.
but the classic.
Yeah, yeah.
That works.
I'm old school. You know?
Bye, guys.
All right. See you guys later.